just when I thought PC gaming couldn't get any more epic.
Recharge the milk!
I have now become addicted to a game about animals drinking poison. This game feels like if Zootopia and Buckshot Roulette got combined by a very talented group of Unity developers. The result being a surprisingly immersive game that will turn you into a liar. Unless you already are. I know what you did. I feel like Liar's Bar is next in this chain of innovative games that started around this time last year. First, we had Lethal Company. Lethal Company handed the torch to Buckshot Roulette. Buckshot Roulette handed it to Pal World. Pal World handed it to Helldivers. And Helldivers made a horrible mistake before it could continue the momentum. Liar's Bar is the next descendant of this lineage. Out of the box, I played this game for 5 hours without noticing the time went by. That is very rare. To give you an idea of how rare it is, I named my satisfactory world Attention Span Endurance Test. In a world where most Steam libraries look like this, Liar's Bar is a game that I would have not expected to keep me this engaged, because it goes against one of my core principles, sitting in a virtual room playing card games with strangers. I just don't feel like that's a symptom of a fulfilling life. However, after playing this game, I can say I now have a better idea of why people sit in Mark Zuckerberg's purgatory for hours.
You got a pair, but I got a higher pair.
Yeah,
But
right.
if
You
Ace
two
comes
aces.
out, he's gonna fucking...
And all it took was a couple of adorable animals. Yeah, Among Us might have made you occasionally have to lie, but this game basically forces you to every 1 to 3 minutes. Liar's Bar is not a single game, instead it's actually 3 minigames in one. Kind of like those third-party Wii games you might watch a Scott the Woz video on. The difference being that Liar's Bar couldn't be further from Wii Shovelware. In fact, it's one of the most quality and well-executed games you can currently spend $7 on. The environment you play in is a cozy bar with warm lighting, complemented by ambient NPCs that make it feel alive. Minus the creepy bear, he makes me feel unsafe. One of the most charming things you'll probably notice right away is the character designs, which, like the rest of Liar's Bar, don't do too much and yet get the job done perfectly. In the starting roster, you have a pig, a dog, a fox, and an ox. A group of what I presume are friends with some very interesting activities for their third place. There's also some other animals being added, and all of them have lore pages that are based on these little one-page comics. The dog Scubby, I think he accidentally disposed of his brother, and now he doesn't want to let anyone in his life. The fox Foxy grew up alone and is in love with Scubby the dog. The pig is just a psychopath. No surprises there. And the ox has the most vague comic. He just failed to do something important, and now he has to live with it. Which I think matches his character for sure. He's definitely a wall. And then there's the newly added Cupcake, who I believe split with her partner, or maybe lost them, but either way, she didn't get anything, not a house and not a single penny. And so she gambles every night. Lastly, there is Gurk, who, unlike the others, loves the life, maybe a little too much. This one is perhaps the most realistic because you can see a tear falling from Gurk's eyes as he's laughing. Too real. Believe it or not, these characters are the life of Liar's Bar. While there are, in fact, no differences based on who you play, it will affect how people choose to roast you.
Shut the fuck up. Dirty fucking pig.
You didn't even say anything.
Man, that wasn't even me.
The sharp graphics that surround these characters are stunning. It almost gives off the impression that this game is a demo, especially when you look into the old-fashioned gameplay. The 3 games, Liar's Deck, Liar's Dice, and Liar's Poker, are all based off of real games that have probably been around since this. I want a paragraph comment on why my history teacher thought this was so important. Yes, these games are nothing new, they're borrowed concepts, but the twists that Liar's Bar implements gives them new dimensions. My personal favorite game being Liar's Deck, which I will focus on to save you from a horribly butchered poker explanation. Liar's Deck is in fact a classic game that has gone by many names before. Cheat, BS, I doubt it. These are all different names for the same thing. A card game where you must remove all the cards from your deck before the other players can. After hearing what type of card is required, whether that be ace, queen, or king, you can choose up to 3 cards from your hand to put down into the pile. The thing is, these cards don't all have to be the right one. Even if the table demands that you put down kings, you can secretly put down queens. And as long as no one calls you out, you can get through a whole round by lying about what you put down if you don't have the right cards. The reason why this game has gone by BS and I doubt it is because that's usually what people say when they want to call you out on your bluff. Or in this case, through saying, liar. If the person who called the bluff is correct, the liar is punished, but if they are wrong, the punishment gets flipped on them. The thing about Liar's Deck is that rather than this punishment being 2 extra cards or a shot of pickle juice, it's actually a shot to the head.
He's dead right here. You're dead. What's his fucking name? Lufa?
Now, with more serious games, people usually aren't too fond of luck heavily affecting if they win or not, but in a party game like this, it adds a thrilling element to the gameplay loop. A variation of the game mode was actually recently added called Devil Mode, which you can basically use to attack all 3 different players at once. This means that there's a chance to dispatch all opponents at the table at once if you are lucky enough. Someone please calculate the odds of this happening because I really want to pull it off.
Liar.
Why would you call that? That's the difficult card, I know. Yeah, I know.
Yes. Why is it that color? What the fuck?
Oh, look at me, pig.
Let me hear the opera.
Don't look at me like that.
As you might notice, the contrast between the beautiful graphics of this game and its darkness is surreal. You have these animals that look like they could be from a Pixar short, peacefully sitting at a warmly lit table, and then they just casually raise a revolver to their head and talk about how they're not afraid. It's truly a sight that takes you off guard. And that's not to mention how messed up the animals look after they have to drink poison, punishment from Liar's Dice. The voice acting is not the highest quality, but that honestly only adds to the charm. Much of the cast have these gruff voices that sound numb to most emotion, and they speak whenever it's time to test their luck or whenever someone tries to get away with 3 cards. Combine this with the player's own ability to voice chat, and you have a lot of dialogue going around the table. However, the thing about voice chat is that the player's mouth actually moves in sync with their talking, which means just 5 minutes into downloading this game, you may be staring at a pig telling you to tell his wife he loves her, but that's just the start of the immersion. The player's head and neck also follow their cursor in a much more exaggerated way compared to other games. If you are taking a peek at the person to your left, the movement is so unsubtle that they will always know you're looking at them, which makes things very confrontational, and inevitably leads to extremely awkward and tense moments when you notice the player in your peripheral vision is staring at you, trying to guess if you lied or not. There's a certain amount of body language present where you can try to nod your head or look down at the floor to try and throw your investigator off. Both of these features are simple, and yet they add layers of psychology to this game's strategy. These sheer mind games that happen every round are insane. You can blatantly lie to the person at your table, or pretend you're lying to make them call it an honest play. You can put down honest cards for several rounds to build up a trustworthy reputation, or try to pull off a crazy lie so ridiculous the other player might just believe you. You can ask the other players how many kings are in their deck in order to figure out if your neighbor really could have placed down 3 at once. There are many ways to play this game. Tricking someone into getting eliminated because you pretended to be nervous will make you feel like a wolf in sheep's clothing, while not falling for such a performance will make you feel valid as a person. I think this is one of the only social deduction games that has caused me to feel a tinge of guilt after getting away with a lie. And that's because the people who play Liar's Bar are really what makes it right now.
I think actually I'm gonna win this game.
I picked up a different player model.
So. No, I'd have to disagree with your assumption that you're gonna win because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna win.
I like 3s though. Do you like 3s?
I like 3s.
I like 3s too.
No, you don't. You barely looked under that cup.
You're right.
He just absolutely crumbles. Yeah, you're right.
People have a lot to say about how I play the game, and they rarely let me get away with anything. On several occasions, I've played with people who absolutely press me, trying to figure out if I'm lying or not. And they'll go on a first-name basis too. Believe it or not, this constant confrontation can throw me off my game. I feel like I'm actually trying to lie to someone to their face because the game is so immersive. Sometimes someone will chastise me for lying and tell me how disappointed they are, only for them to immediately get called out for lying themselves. It's completely ridiculous. When everybody has a mic, this game is basically akin to having an angel and devil on your shoulder, except instead of a 1-to-1 ratio of angels to devils, it's just 3 devils. Because of the randomness behind the roulette-style punishment, even the most belligerent trash talkers will get humbled, which just makes the game even better. But just because you can be competitive doesn't mean that's always how the table feels. More often than not, the players you're with will take the game fairly casually and talk about whatever's on their mind at the time in between turns.
What's happening, brother?
Putting together, I'm gonna make a video about this game.
All right, not too bad. What kind of video are we making, Lufa?
It's gonna be like
That's the same thing.
like 11-minute video, kind of just talking about the game. It's not my most interesting
3
video.
kings.
1 king.
Like short analysis of it?
Yeah, basically, like, goes pretty in-depth
3
about,
kings.
like, all the things that just kind of make it, like, a
That's a
really
bold
well-executed
bark
game.
for such a small bite.
It's not too entertaining.
After you get eliminated, you can spectate the game and still talk through your animal, which is nice because you don't have to feel like you're out of the game once you're spectating.
It's the mana focus. No head movement.
Let's see if
No
luck's
comms.
still on my side.
It's a very spooky game.
Oh, your mouth still moves.
Hey, 31K, man. Congrats, dude.
Thank you. Make sure to like and subscribe.
You can also try to mess with the other players like a manipulative ghost.
Excuse me, Lufa. Can you stop getting blood on the table, please?
That's my bad.
3 queens.
Oh, call that right now. Call that, please call that. There's no way. I know Tony's got queens. I know you got queens. Those are not 3 queens. Oh.
The whole experience is almost reminiscent of Lethal Company in that to make the most of this game, you're going to want 4 people with microphones. While the game can kind of be enjoyed on mute, you'll definitely be missing out if you don't play the game with people who talk. Because the more talking there is, the more room there is for mind games, and the more interesting the game can get. That includes the other games too. Now, a couple criticisms are as follows. For some reason, the music volume cannot be turned to 0. When you turn it all the way down, it still plays a little bit. Probably one of the biggest problems is that when a host leaves their game, it immediately ends, which can cut off a lot of good games if they are a sore loser or not able to stay around. I understand that this is probably some sort of client-server network issue, but if we could get games dedicated where that's not an issue, that would be pretty swell. Also, please be aware that at the moment, it seems like mics are not muted during the pre-game loading screen. Even though there's an indicator that says you are muted, if you decide to sing while you are waiting, everyone will be able to hear you as the game is loading right now. That just happened to my friend and I wanted to tell you for their sake. Outside of that, this game is amazing. It's really one that makes you take a step back and appreciate simplicity in games, and the impact that good quality execution can give them. Although this game does not have too much content, there are updates on the way, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the developers do with this game. There's just so much charm behind it, and you can really tell the people who made it are good at what they do. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. I'm Lufa.